everyone, and welcome to the Pmbc meeting of August 23rd. I'm going to try to share the screen with the agenda. Can everyone see that?
Yep. Yeah, just move it up some, Steve.
Okay. So the first order of business is the warrant. Let me find out where that is. Here we are. Did everyone have a chance to look at this? I sent this out earlier.
I did. Share that and then reshare your warrant.
No, oh, you can't see the warrant?
No.
Oh, I see the agenda.
All right, let me see what I can figure out here. Share screen.
Oh, we got
Stacy. Okay.
Stacy's
Can
here.
you see that?
Yeah, we see it now, Steve.
Okay. So there were four invoices. Four invoices on the warrant. The first is for Vertex for, looks like September, $12,921.50. LLB for September as well, $95,665.60. The next one for Vertex for invoices. They've got two months in here. So Vertex for $8,659.75, and then the fourth is LLB Architects again for $225,666.12 for a total of $342,912.97. Any questions or discussion?
Steve, I think some of these date back a while. That's why the prices are so high, or the figures are so high.
Yeah, these have there were 2 months worth here, and we're kind of behind the 8 ball. So we need to get these paid.
Yeah.
So, any discussions, or is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion. We approve the warrant for $342,912.97.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Bob Rama, yes.
Bartlett, yes. Mike, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And Steve, yes.
And Brian Pasquale.
Oh, yep. Brian, yes. Oh, good. We have a full
house.
Yep.
So, motion carries. Let me go back to the agenda. Just have to share the screen. So is Brian Ford's with us yet?
Yeah, he's in the room.
Okay, can everyone see the agenda?
Yep.
Okay, the next item is to approve the minutes of July 26th. Any comments?
Steve, I think we got June 28th, July 12th, and July 26th that need to be approved.
I think you're right. I think I forgot to put those on the agenda here. So why don't we just combine those? Let me jot that down. What were those dates again, Bob?
6/28,
yep.
7/12, and 7/26.
Okay. Any discussions on the meeting minutes for those 3 dates? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Bob Rama, yes.
Bartlett, yes. Mike Scaduto, yes.
Stacy, yes.
And Brian Pasquale, yes.
And Steve Moore, yes. Thank you. Shaker Lane feasibility study. Stacy, do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So we just moments ago approved the top 3 OPM firm proposals that we received. So we had 6 proposals within the past, I think, 2 weeks.
We had 8.
8. Sorry, 8. Yeah, you're right. They were a lot. I lost count. We had to approve the top 3. So Vertex, Turner Townsend, Heery, and NB5 were approved for our top 3 candidates, and we will be interviewing them, I believe, next week to then select our top choice for these firms.
Yeah, we'll meet next Wednesday morning to do the interviews. We'll meet Wednesday night as a full committee to approve the recommendation, and then it goes off to MSBA and off to the races.
And those will start 9:30 on Wednesday?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
9:30, 10:30, 11:30. And I think that's about it. Is Brian on the phone with us? Brian?
I am, Steve. Yes.
Oh, good. Any updates on the library? Anything
No, I think we're wrapped up with library. We finally got in touch with our architect about our submission with LEED, and he's made contact with the greenhouse committee. There was a document that we needed signatures from with our library director. We provided that to him the same day. And so I've got a call into him asking him just to where we stand right now. The hope is that we have a final answer in the near future. I think that the design team was a little slow in their submission to the greenhouse, but now that we've got confirmation that it is in, we should be hearing back shortly from them, which will help with the library trustees. I know they've been asking for that. The only other open item that we had was we had some remaining erosion control out back of the library property that we were keeping in place while the grass seed was growing on the hill and establishing. We got approval to have that removed. We reached out to Cataldo, the site contractor. They said that they would be out to take care of that once they wrapped up a couple of their school projects. I do think some of the sewer work has done that, helped us out and done that work for us already. So when I'm on site next, I'm going to take a quick assessment to see if I don't want them to mobilize if they don't need to, but they were going to do that probably within the next few weeks. But that's all we have for library.
Okay, the only thing that I have for library is that you had sent out a link, SharePoint link for with all the files.
Yep, correct.
And I've been remiss in looking at that, but I will try to get to that this weekend and get back to you. And
yeah, that link
anybody else?
Yeah, that link should be current. If people have problems, let me know. I'll get right back on it and send out a fresh link in case it does get timed out.
Okay. All right. So next item is this high school roof. Brian.
Yep. So unfortunately, we're kind of up against it at this point. Obviously, before school starts, the contractor is still there working. We had our weekly construction meeting with them yesterday, where they kind of, admitted that they needed to step up and add some manpower and work some overtime to make sure we get this done prior to next Tuesday. I think they're on track to get the bulk of that accomplished, and they've agreed to work Saturday and then also Sunday if needed to get it done. So, we've been clear with them that come next Tuesday, they're not to be working on the roof. The way they've laid out the schedule, we think they can get there for the bulk of, getting the roof tight and all the flashing done and everything restored. What may linger is the snow melt system, which is obviously a little bit less critical, and they could get done, potentially on another weekend beyond after school starts if they need to. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay. So that's a little disappointing. We thought that they'd be a little bit better than that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Steve, I'm a little disappointed as well. The original schedule that they laid out had them being, substantially complete before we were really even into August, and then August was really just kind of punch list and tidying up. They're blaming the wet summer and the weather, the amount of rain days that they had, which has some merit, but they still should have been done by now. So I think they've kind of fessed up to that, and they're putting the manpower and the overtime into making a push to get it done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we did have a wet summer, but once they realized they were behind schedule, they should have had a mitigation plan.
Yep.
Anyway, it is what it is.
It is. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm a little disappointed. I wish it was done by now, but I don't think we're in a, we're not in a panic mode by any means.
Okay. Any questions for Brian? All right, down to the senior center, Brian.
Yes, and just for Brian, is that Rockwell?
Rockwell,
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, just so I know, we're going to be going out to bid relatively soon. I know that they're going to be one of the pre-qualified roofers on our job that's going to be putting a bid in. So, just food for thought.
Yep.
I wanted to keep that in my back pocket.
Feel free to mention it to them.
We'll see where their bid lands, and that might have to be a discussion that needs to be had. Yeah, but thank you. For the senior center, we've got quite a bit of work that's been done in the past few weeks. We've been presenting to a few boards. We've provided an update to the select board. We've also had a meeting with the planning board about a site plan review and a drainage calculation review. The planning board has requested that we have a third-party review done of our site plan. So we've engaged with Green International, who is the firm that did the town's review for the library. We've stressed the quick turnaround that we're looking for.
Hey, can I ask a question, Brian? Does the planning board have authority to add scope to your work?
I don't know. We need.
I would challenge that.
Okay. What I do know is we need the planning board approval.
Yeah, well, I think planning board ought to come talk to us because, we're in charge of the budget, and if they're adding scope to your work without talking to us, that's not acceptable.
Sure, that's something I can. I will reach out to Marin tomorrow morning, the liaison, the chair from the planning board,
right,
to discuss what is transpired right now at this point.
Okay.
So with all of the boards, we've also had a logistics meeting yesterday. We had that with the town administrator, a representative from the fire department, representative from the police department, the DPW, as well as the library. And Steve, if it's okay if I share my screen, I just wanted to go over a couple things.
Sure.
And then ultimately give a timeline of our schedule and then discuss with you guys as a committee. Ultimately, we've been going around and presenting and discussing with other committees, but I feel as though we probably owe the PMBC something from our project team to kind of talk with you guys about the design and where our schedule is and what we see for construction. But I did want to share with you the logistics plan that was shared with the town administrator and staff yesterday, just to kind of show a footprint of where we are right now and what we see for logistics. Obviously, we're in a congested town campus with a full parking lot during the day. And I think we're going to benefit from having the same project team that we had for the library. Ultimately, we've already engaged with the church down the street for some contractor parking during work hours. And this drawing shows, I would ask you to ignore the red arrow at this point right now because we've discussed how deliveries will be made to the site. We know that there's been some concern from residents on Shattuck Street. We want to mitigate any type of two-way traffic that's happening on that street there. So you can see that we have some crane layouts, some storage container layouts, and ultimately some entrance and exit areas from the site. that we would be using during construction. Obviously, this would be a fluid document that if we changed, we would resend that to the staffs to kind of go over what would be needing in the near future. The one change that will happen, if your attention can come up to the top of the site here, is that at some point during construction, and Commodore is still working on their overall critical path schedule, is that we'll need to do some tie-ins to not only the sewer main that's here in this driveway, but we also have a tie-in into the subsurface infiltration for stormwater that goes underground. So there will be a point in time where we need to work and coordinate with the library in order to open up some of these spaces in order to tie into the drainage and to the sewer that's going to be behind the property. You can see the temporary fence encapsulates not only the senior center property, but the neighbor's property as well. We've been working with the town administrator with the current agreement they have with the tenant about when he would be moving out of the residence. And then at that point, the town will be letting us use that for our meeting space, as well as a superintendent office to operate out of that building. And that's going to help save some overhead and general conditions costs that we would have with trailers and temp electric that we would have in those areas. So that actually helps the project. You know, every little bit helps. We do have
just out of curiosity, are any of those hemlock trees that we planted as mitigation for the library, are they going to be compromised?
Some are in danger in this area right here where my cursor is.
Yeah.
I do not believe that this is a photo. This may have been taken before our plantings had been done.
Okay.
But I can also work with Commodore during the excavation. The corner of this foundation is going to impact the septic system of the of the residence right here. And I believe the hemlocks are a little bit farther back, but we can try to either replant or replace those in a different location. We will be demolishing the existing garage, which is in this area right here. So we've talked with the current resident that would need to be completely cleaned out as well. Yes. before he leaves. We did speak with town administrator and Diane Dickerson, and they're drafting a memo up so that that residence would be vacant in November.
Brian, where's the tie-in for the sewerage going to be from the house, out the back or out the front?
No, and so the current plan, and talking with Steve from DPW, and I still need to speak with Corey Godfrey again about the work of this. I went down in the basement of this residence and saw where it exits the house, and it exits towards the back on an angle and enters the septic system out here. The plan would be is to reroute their sewer and have it come out the front and tie into the new Shattuck Street sewer line that's coming down the street that's being installed right now. The only issue that I foresee with that was comments from the DPW director is that he wasn't exactly sure when that system would be going live. So that would need some coordination with the town on when they indeed plan on reselling this property. If they do plan on doing that they would need to make sure that the sewer system is worked and tied in at that point.
Are they going to make provisions on the way by for the house? Or?
I believe so, yes.
Is there enough of a pitch from the house septic, or is there enough of a pitch for this septic pipe?
I believe so. So where it exits the house, it's quite high on the foundation wall in the back. Yeah. The hope is that we can have, the pitch to code to the front of the building, and then therefore hit our inverts that we need for the sewer system up the street.
As long as we don't have to go digging it back up again after they do all the work.
Yep.
I will say another item that came out of this meeting that we had yesterday, conversation with the DPW. As you guys know, this is going to be an export site. We've done some environmental testing on this. We've determined where the ash and cinder piles were on this project. We don't have the final report, but we did get a verbal from the environmental tester that this is clean and should be unregulated fill. And in speaking with the DBW director, he was under the impression that we were just going to dump it at his yard, and he's made accommodations for us to do so. So,
that's great.
That's actually great news. We're going to be going. Commodore will be competitively bidding this with all site contractors, but that's a great caveat to have, that we have a place to put this fill, so that we're not paying for it for any type of disposal fees.
And what was the, wasn't it like 70 grand to get rid of all that stuff or something?
We were carrying, Steve, initially $200,000 for excavation. And the reason we were doing that is because we were classifying as an RCS1 because we did not have the environmental testing done on it. So we ended up cutting that by 3/4, we'll say, or, you know, we left about 70 grand for export, but that's going to help if there's a place in town that it could be dumped at not far from the site.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And so working with, Chief Clancy and Chief Pinard's second, I think it's his lieutenant, was out there. We did discuss the fire department connections, the access that he will need to have during construction, and then ultimately we'll be working on the security systems and access control systems. We'll be going out to bid. That'll be an owner-provided item that I'm going to make sure that we run by the police station, that they're comfortable with the surveillance and access control that we'll have in this area. So, one other item that we did do this morning, I reached out to Diane Crowry so that we could at least introduce ourselves to the Disability Commission. And so we wanted to go and show them some of our code analysis and our ADA work that has been done to date. Diane was not able to make the meeting. We met with Mr. Is it Gary's a select board member? I apologize.
Gary Wilson.
Gary Wilson.
We met with Gary Wilson and also a gentleman named Luigi, who's on the Disability Commission. And we went through, if you guys, oh, I'm sorry. Can you see my screen here? One moment. And we provided them a quick overview on where we're looking at from this building. We gave them a front rendering, and I can't see your faces right now, so please interrupt me if you'd like. And just gave them a quick analysis on where we were. Here's our site plan that we just showed you from a logistics standpoint. We also like to show them the access on where people would be parking. We've added 19 parking spots to the layout here. There'll be ADA and wheelchair accessibility into the front of the building down at the lower level. 4 or 5 of these spots will be flush curb with some bollards. The rest will rise up and match the same profile that we have across the street at the library. Then we'll also have pedestrian access off of Shattuck Street. There'll be a 1 in 20 sidewalk, so there is no need for any railings that would need, but this would all be ADA handicap accessible to these exterior doors as well, where there'll be a terrace and a patio for lounging and activities out here. We also described that per the design, any entrance and exit doors are oversized in order to accommodate any wheelchairs or just disabled residents that are looking to get into any area in there besides the kitchen. The kitchen does have its restraints that we went over that with the commission as well. So they seemed pleased with the design. We're going to provide this to them just in case they had any other questions. I think they meet monthly or bi-monthly, but we wanted to make sure that we had talked to them as well. We did go through a couple of a quick floor plans for them as well. And this is something that I'd like to talk with you guys if you'd find it fruitful to have the designers maybe join a PMBC meeting and go through a little bit more in depth, maybe with Liz as well, about some of the decisions and programming that was made during the design as we're we're finally getting finalized drawings here. But what we have here is our first floor. That ADA entrance that I spoke about was right here where you'd enter the vestibule. This would be a main corridor, and if you turned left, you'd have your double door access into your multi-purpose room. And this will be something that will be used almost daily, where activities, meetings could be held, dining could also happen. This also will have a door, a separated accordion door that would be able to separate the room into 2 separate meetings. We're working with trying to get my technology and electrical plans so that we can firm up our AV and speaker systems in this area in the event that we wanted to broadcast or hold meetings that need to be recorded. It was also a request of the department that this room, all furniture in this entire facility is mobile and be able to be broken down and pushed to the side. This room could also be used as a pickleball court in this multi-purpose room.
So Brian, when you say push to the side, no separate storage spaces?
So we have some small storage areas. However, the size of these, the quantity that we have of tables on this right now will not have its own separate closet unless we take it and put it into our large storage room that we have across the corridor, which could be wheeled out. We have the space for that.
So, you know, in addition to the furniture, do you have in the budget storage, wheel storage
Carts
for this stuff?
Carts, is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be part of our furniture budget that we have right now. I've put a placeholder in between $250,000 and $300,000 based upon the furniture package that we had at the library.
Yeah.
As part of our contract that we have with the designers is that they are doing the interior design and furniture procurement here. And what I see my role is providing them that budget and then working with Liz and her staff, making sure that we're within budget, but still making sure we're getting the functionality and the furniture that they need. And so that would also include the racking and storage systems that we need for this furniture.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. The other side of the house would be the administrative wing. If you took a right out of the vestibule here, you'd have a reception desk that also is ADA accessible. And this would be where Liz and her staff offices are. We'd have a few outreach offices as well as the Veteran Affairs office that would be located in that area. We'd have a single conference room down here for small meetings. And then we'd have a study area on the first floor with some lounge couches for some informal meeting. These plans do not show where information boards or screens will be, but we do have them located on the electrical plans that's been kind of picked out by Liz about where things would be. I believe we have one where my cursor is right here. If someone would walk in, they'd probably be able to understand any updates or any news or notable things that needed to be presented to the public as they walked in. The other room down here, we do have full ADA bathrooms on the first floor, a men's and a women's, as well as one unisex with a shower. That was a request of the staff as well. And then we have attic stock and storage facilities down here in the bottom right, as well as our electrical and mechanical rooms, where our feeds from Shattuck Street will be entering the building here. One other feature is a small medical room in case there are any small things that need to happen or something private from a medical standpoint. That was a request too that was put in next to the study in the back of the house.
How big is that room, Brian? Offhand?
This room 110, I would say it is approximately 10 by 15.
Because they do in the seniors right now, they do a blood pressure clinic. I was just wondering if the room was big enough.
I think that's actually one of the main reasons for having this room here. So I think it was sized appropriately to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Above that medical room, we do have our elevator, which will allow access up to the second floor. If we move up to the I'm sorry, I think that this is that's the ceiling plan. So here we have our second floor. I can make it a little, the nice cleaner color version here. This is where you have a lot of activity and function space. You'll have a fitness room where my cursor is here. This would be for yoga and Pilates or any type of classes that would be made. We have an exercise room. What you see there is kind of a proposed layout of equipment. We have not decided on equipment, nor have we established really what our top end budget is. So my plan would be is once we are approved to go forward, we have a budget line item for it. We would engage with several vendors on the state bid list to see what we could accommodate in these rooms. But I think Liz has her eye on a few treadmills and some bikes that would be going in those areas as well.
Any kind of discussion about like what the library did for naming different areas for contributions?
Great question. And I have asked Liz and her staff about if there was going to be any type of fundraising effort, and they said that they believe there is. And we'd really like to utilize anything that we can. And so there is a signage package as part of Commodore's overall initial scope. And what we did with the library, and I think it's a good way to go, is if we like the signage company and they're doing a good job, we can provide them additional scope based upon so that we know the right templates in order to propose any type of dedication plaques on certain areas for contributions. On the second floor, there will be 2 program rooms as well. This furniture will also be collapsible and able to be moved around. But here you could hold classes, almost kind of like a maker space in those rooms as well. And then in the main lobby here, the intention is to have somewhat like a billiards area with a sufficient area for pedestrian traffic to walk around. There is a desk up top as well for staff. And then this will be a glass wall that you'd be able to see down below into the main foyer down on the first floor. These 4 doors here at the bottom, these were the doors that we had referenced up on the second floor of Shattuck Street. Those would be means of egress for people to walk out the building, out onto the patio, and then ultimately you'd have a walkway to get yourself out onto Shattuck Street and into the crosswalk of the driveway of Town Hall.
Brian, is that going to be just a patio now, or are they still thinking of the bocce court there?
We still have the bocce court included in the design right now. We did value out some of the more expensive features of the bocce court. At first, it had granite curbing around the entire, it had lighting. It had certain things that were a little, maybe a little extravagant for a bocce court. So what we have is a simple design that ultimately, even if we took it all out, would not save us too much money because we'd still need to loam and seed that area. So we have a bocce court that's kind of integral into the patio just outside of this plan here that would be installed. That bocce court next to it also has a small gardening area where seniors would be able to do some gardening that would be installed next to that. Okay.
So where are we on budget at this point?
So where we're at, Steve, is we've not done another full estimate at this point. And what we did is our previous estimate got us to where we thought we were within our proposed appropriation. We made some more what I would call slight changes to the design that did not affect programming, but what we felt was going to save us some money when it came to the filed sub bids. And where we are with our schedule is I'm being told that the documents will be complete by next week. I'd be advertising for the Central Register by the end of next week so that it is on the street on the 6th of September after Labor Day. And they would be in the hands of the pre-qualified bidders for the filed sub bids. There would be The following week, there would be a filed sub-bid walkthrough. There's really not much to see, but we do like to provide the opportunity for some of the trades to come out and review the area. It gives some of the larger subs, like an HVAC or an electrical sub, to kind of get their head around where provisions are going to be and where their laydown areas are going to be. We have a date of the 21st of September for any request for information or RFIs to be submitted to the design team. And we would be asking for bids to be due by the 28th of September. Barring any large questions or any addendum that need to go out, that date may be pushed a day or two, or possibly, you know, into the middle of that following week, to make sure that we have enough time for people to have that competitive bid.
So have we coordinated with Parks and Rec as to when they don't have use of the tennis court anymore?
Yes, we've spoken with them. We've allowed them, or they're going to use this up until probably the close to the end of the year, Steve. I anticipate that once we get all our pricing from our filed sub bids, we're going to probably need another week or two for Commodore to assemble the entire guaranteed maximum price of all of the subs, including their own. They will provide that. We will also, that will need to be reviewed by my firm, the Pmbc, and the town before any type of notice to proceed happens. In speaking with Commodore and looking ahead and looking at their proposed schedule, they feel as though this building can be built. We gave them 14 months is what we gave them on in their original interview and the RFQ that we provided them. They feel as though that they'd be able to build this in probably 13 months. And so once a notice to proceed is issued, they'd probably take the first month and start getting their procurement in line, getting all of their submittals in, all of their long lead time items in to be approved, so that if the weather cooperates, they're ready to hit the ground running probably a month after we provide them that notice to proceed.
And that's what, sometime in January?
I would say probably right after the new year, correct?
Yeah.
Brian, can you cover that the timeline again on the did you say RFIs were due to be submitted on the 21st?
The deadline for an RFI would be on the 21st of September. So they get the drawings on the 6th. They would have 2 weeks to review. And what we usually see is we just need to provide a deadline. They can submit RFIs any point leading up to that point. And we would probably be issuing addendas leading up to that point as well. But we set a drop dead date for RFIs just so that we don't receive one 2 days prior to bid opening, and we're scrambling to try to answer that and make sure that people have the correct information.
Yeah, it just seemed like if people are submitting RFIs up till the 21st, and then the design team's needs a little bit of time to answer them, it might be tight with that 28th. That was my only thought.
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
I think Kirby, you have a question?
Yeah, Brian, tell me, since we're still kind of waiting for drawings to come out so that we can feed Keypoint Media or Keycode Media, tell me how that process is going to work given the timeframes that you're talking about, filed sub bids and everything else.
My plan, and I was expecting these drawings last week, and I've made my point quite clear to them that I was expecting them. But what I'm doing is, when I receive the technology and electrical drawings, I'm going to put that in front of Keycode Media, and I'm going to have a meeting with them and go over the provisions that are installed currently. And I want to go through what the usage of both sides of the multi-purpose room is, and I want to confirm with them that they're comfortable about what they'd be providing could be accommodated with what the provisions are. If they feel as though that some extra conduit or an extra workstation or locations need to be added, I would have the electrical engineer on that call as well. An addendum would be issued for adding, 3 runs of conduit back to the cable TV room, or an additional workstation here, something that would be added into the drawings, and it would need to be acknowledged by the bidders once that's issued. So we do have a little bit of time, but I don't like doing it this way, but that's how it's going to be handled.
Yeah, I'm understanding what you're saying, and that sounds good. But from my perspective, coming out of the meeting that we had, based upon what the cost was going to be, Brian, we were going to decide whether or not cable TV was even going to be in this building.
Yep.
And so I'm hearing lots of stuff that's very positive, and we're going to get this. But I'm of the perspective that we left that room, that if we come out with a bid that doesn't fit what we think we're going to have, then we're not even in the conversation. So I want to be careful that we're not putting the cart before the horse here to get all this information, when really we got to have that, as you pointed out, a conversation with Key Code to say, here's what we're expecting, and then get a price tag from them. And if it's beyond what our budget is, then we have to either fish or cut bait here.
Yep. The way that I see it too, Kirby, and I completely agree with you, though, is I'm going to need to get an understanding or a ballpark on what AV. We are going to need some sort of AV in those rooms regardless. And we're going to need to have some speakers. We're going to need to have some assisted listening systems in there. And I think what you're talking about is the broadcast capability and the tie-in with LCTV on whether or not that's going to be working. And I'm going to need to get some rough order of magnitudes from them. I don't think it's going to hurt us to have some provisions in the wall for that to happen. But that's going to be a priority number one. Once I was told I'm going to receive them by, they told me today. I'm hoping for it tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I understand fully that the AV side of the stuff needs to be done, and I'm sure Key Code Media would love to bid on that and give you information. But again, as we said in the meeting, it's the broadcast side of the house to say, do we do it or not? And again, everybody's been trying to do the best, but yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
sir. I'll make sure that you're involved as well.
Yeah, because I told Robert I'd be happy to go through the drawings with him just to give him some basic outlines of stuff to try and expedite things, so that when you do have the meeting with them, that they at least know what we've had here for conversations. That's all.
Thank you.
No problem. Glad to help you.
Yeah, I think this is a great update, Brian. Very helpful.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Brian?
Brian, when's the next planning board meeting that we're gonna?
It's currently scheduled for the 7th, and so it is my hope and intention that our plans are going to be, and after I speak with Maren and Steve regarding tomorrow, is that the drainage calcs and the site plan reviews are all kind of squared away at that point, and we're moving forward after that meeting.
Yeah, if the planning board has budget to give you scope, have at it.
Right.
What do you think, Bartlett?
Planning board doesn't have budget, but they reflexively want outside experts to review everything, because the planning board doesn't have the expertise and they don't want to approve something that's not going to work.
So I think the planning board needs to approach PMBC if they're going to add scope.
Okay. If you don't mind, Steve, I'll kind of facilitate an email tomorrow with us, just to have Maren kind of describe what came out of the previous planning board meeting.
Okay.
The only other thing that I wanted to bring up is once our notice to proceed starts and construction's mobilized and we're going, and I guess it's just a question for PMBC is, I can provide a monthly update, or I can bring in part of our CM team or our design team, however the PMBC wants to see fit. I can provide kind of a quick rundown like this. I also don't want to take up too much of your guys' time, but you know, if you want to think about how you want updates presented, I can go through the vendor invoice package as well. That's going to be on a monthly basis that we put together. But open to any and all, however you guys want to see fit.
Brian, one more question.
Yeah.
Can we use, or can the contractor use the house property for storage to try to keep stuff out of the parking lot area to cut down on the amount of space that they're going to need?
Yes. And so if I go back to the employee parking and logistics, the intention is that we don't take any of the current parking that we have. What this fence is right here is actually encapsulating the new parking that we're adding for the senior center. So yes, what we'd be doing is using the entire fenced-in property for laydown areas. Once we dig the foundation hole, I'm sure that will be used for some laydown area where steel will be going. But the intention would be is that we're not taking away any spots that are currently in the parking lot. I was there on last week and also yesterday, and it's true that there really isn't much parking when there's a peak time at town hall.
Well, we got our ears twisted there that the night we came out of the selectmen's meeting by the neighbor there, and you know, her concerns were valid. She didn't want all the activity. Definitely,
and I think, you know, we want to work well with all of the neighbors, and we want to make sure that the projects that are going on currently in the sewer, you know, we want to learn from any mistakes or any issues that were had. We do know that any deliveries that we have, we want to exit out onto Shattuck Street, get onto King Street, and get out of here as quick as possible. So there's really no need or intention for having us have any truck or vehicular traffic that's going past the job site.
I think your biggest problem is going to be the soil removal.
Yeah. I foresee, and we'll have this will be a little more in depth when we have a kickoff meeting, but I would foresee trucks in this lower area here loading and then either exiting out the driveway and getting out onto Shattuck, or using the 2-lane that we have exiting out on the side of Town Hall.
Okay, any other questions for Brian? All right, we'll move to member input. Bob, anything?
No, I'm all set. Brian, just one thing, Brian, I'm available for meetings if you have some of the in-house meetings.
Good, okay. I'll definitely let you know. Thank you.
Live meetings.
Hey, Bartlett, anything?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Mike?
I'm good, thanks.
Brian Pasquale?
All set, thank you, Steve.
I do have one item. Spoke with Ryan Ferrari yesterday, and Brian Fors actually, we may be getting the Indian Hill project passed along to us, so more to come on that.
I do have some homework to do on that, Steve. So I'll make sure that you're involved as well about getting this kick started and the wheels turning on that project again. I'll make sure that you're involved.
Yeah, I talked to Ryan today real quickly. We talked about the roof yesterday. Maybe we put that out as a separate package so we're not paying 10% to the GC. Just a thought. Yeah.
Just a thought. Sure.
So, I mean, I think that's what, $300,000?
It was roughly around that number. Yes. I don't remember offhand the number, but yes, it wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
Steve, do they have an obligation for that?
No. Talking about going to Springtown meeting, trying to get a design package and some bids in, so we have some. Well, I don't know. We can't even advertise for bid without having money, right?
Right.
I believe the intention of Ryan, and I need to get some assurances from some of the state and from a legal perspective, but I believe his intention was for fall town meeting to ask for some appropriation to get design documents done so that a bid could be put in hand for the Springtown meeting with the amount of scope that we're asking to be done.
So we would.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I believe that's his schedule that he was thinking about.
More to come. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Bob Riley, yes.
Mike Scudeto, yes.
Brian Pasquale, yes.
Yeah.
Steve Moore, yes. Motion passes. Thanks so much for your time. See you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, everyone.